What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JBsports back again with another one. It's been a very disappointing 2022 in the sport of boxing. I know some people out here saying that the beginning of the year was very good or it was great at the beginning, but to me it was okay at the beginning and it was very disappointing in the middle, and it was a gut punch to the boxing fans. We didn't get Spence versus Crawford at the end. It don't look like we gonna get Davis versus Garcia. That fight could happen in the beginning of 2023, but due to the political divisions as far as networks, Showtime and DAZN, Showtime not trying to work with DAZN. DAZN will work with Showtime, but Showtime say, what are you bringing to the table, DAZN? When the shoe was on the other foot, you weren't trying to work with us, and now we ain't trying to work with you. So that's stalling that fight. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. But the face of boxing, Canelo Alvarez, is coming back in May, Cinco de Mayo. It was previously reported that he will not come back until September. The PBC was lining up Deontay Wilder versus Wilder-Ruiz for that date, but they're going to have to find another date because Canelo said he is fighting May 6th, that his wrist surgery went better than expected. The time recovery is not going to be as long as previously thought, and that he will be available to seek revenge in his last outing when he lost the WBA light heavyweight champion, Dimitri Bivol. Now, Bivol has said after the Zurdo Ramirez win that he wanted to fight for Undisputed, that he was looking to add to his legacy, and that he wanted to fight Arthur Beterbiev. Now, Arthur Beterbiev has a fight coming up January 28th versus Anthony Yarde in the UK. And if he's successful, Bivol wants that fight for Undisputed. That would be a great fight, because not only for Undisputed, but it would be a fight featuring two pound-for-pound fighters on my list at least. I got them in the top 10 of my pound-for-pound. That being Arthur Beterbiev and Dimitri Bivol. But the problem with that is that Beterbiev's promoter, Bob Arum, has come out and said that, look, we're not fighting on DAZN. DAZN don't bring nothing to the table. DAZN has failed miserably here in the U.S., and Arthur Beterbiev is not going to fight on DAZN. That if Bivol wants to fight, he would have to come fight Beterbiev on ESPN. And that's going to be a problem because Bivol is right now fighting exclusively on DAZN, and I don't see Eddie Hearn letting Bivol go over there and fight exclusively on ESPN. He would definitely want DAZN part of that fight. So that fight is not looking likely to happen anytime soon. With that being said, that leaves Bivol with the best option available is a big money fight, a big money rematch with Canelo Alvarez. I believe that's the front runner for Canelo Alvarez's next fight, that being Dimitri Bivol. Now, plan B, the number 2 option, the backup plan if they can't secure Bivol, is John Ryder if he defeats Zach Parker. I think that's the fight that Matchroom Boxing would be looking to make if they can't get Dimitri Bivol for Canelo Alvarez. They can do that fight in the UK, or they can do that fight in Las Vegas. Now, John Ryder has a 50-50 fight coming up November 26th versus Zach Parker. I would give John Ryder the slight advantage in that fight because he's been in there with the better competition. He's fought Daniel Jacobs. He won that fight by split decision. I didn't think he won that fight, but it was a very close fight. I didn't think he won it, but it wasn't like it was a robbery. He's also lost to Callum Smith in a fight I actually thought he won. So basically, in those 2 fights, he's 1-1. And I just thought he got the wrong decision in those 2 fights. I thought he beat Callum Smith, and I thought he beat, I thought he beat Callum Smith, and I thought he lost to Daniel Jacobs. But actually, I let the scorecards went in his favor in the Daniel Jacobs fight and went against him in the Callum Smith fight. But neither one of those fights was in the robbery category. It was not a fight that you could say, oh man, John Ryder was robbed against Callum Smith. I thought he won the fight, but it wasn't raw. I had him, I think, 7 rounds to 5 versus Callum Smith. And I had it the other way versus Daniel Jacobs. I thought Jacobs won the fight 7 rounds to 5. So it was a lot of swing rounds, so rounds that were very hard to score. So it was basically one of those fights where if you're a judge, it's like the beauty is in the eye of the beholder. What you prefer? You like the aggressive fighter, or you like the guy that's scoring the more cleaner, effective punches, which I thought Daniel Jacobs was doing. I thought John Ryder was applying the pressure. I thought John Ryder was the more aggressive fighter, but I just thought that James Jacobs landed the more effective punches through the 12-round fight. With all that being said, John Ryder, if he's successful versus Zach Parker, I think he will be plan B option for Canelo Alvarez for May 6th. But I think the number one option again is Dimitri Bivol for May 6th. Now, if I'm Canelo Alvarez, I try to change the dynamics of that fight. Now, he said that he was not 100% for that fight. As we know, he was dealing with a wrist injury. He said he's also dealing with a shoulder injury and a knee injury. And now that all that's behind him, that he will be 100% for the rematch, and he will not be a limited fighter like he was in the first fight. And if that's indeed the case, then we should have a very, very interesting rematch. But if I'm him, I'm hearing that the fight's going to be in Las Vegas at T-Mobile Arena, the same location of the first fight. But if I'm Canelo Alvarez, I try to change the dynamics of that fight. Let's take this fight to Texas. Let me fight him at AT&T Stadium when I defeated Liam Smith, another fighter from overseas. Or let's take this to Minute Maid Park. That was a fight that I was actually at when he knocked out James Kirkland. I would try to take that fight to Texas, man. Let's just change the dynamics. You know, I'm not saying that just because the fight was in Vegas was the reason why I lost, but let's just change the whole dynamics. I'm a different fighter than I was the first time. We finna fight in a different location, a different venue, and let's just wipe the slate clean, per se, and change the whole dynamics from the first fight. Because you go back to the scene of the crime where you got beat the first time, Dimitri Bivol gonna be very, very comfortable coming into that rematch. He can go to the same hotel, go to the same restaurant, you know what I'm saying? Go look at the same different sightseeing venues there in Vegas if he's down there. Had time to do that the week leading up to the fight. He can kind of get into the same routine like he was in the first fight. I would try to change all that up, man. You finna come to Texas and fight me. You finna fight me at Minute Maid Park, where I had a devastating knockout over James Kirkland. Or you finna fight me at AT&T Stadium, where I stopped Liam Smith. You know what I'm saying? I would try to change the dynamic. That's just my opinion, but it might be all for naught, man, because I really do think that Dimitri Bivol has Canelo Alvarez's number. I think he's the naturally bigger guy, more strong at that weight. I think he's a technically superior fighter. I think he's going to make Canelo Alvarez fight at his pace. Canelo Alvarez wants to fight at a certain pace. Now, according to him, he was limited in the first fight. That's why he was just basically throwing one punch at a time, loading up on shots. He'll be a much busier fighter like he was at 154 when he fought Austin Trout, or when he fought Ezra Landry Lara, you know, when he fought, you know, Amir Khan, guys like that. He was a much busier fighter, a guy that was throwing more than one punch, throwing combinations, throwing punches in bunches. If that's the case, then we're going to have a very, very interesting matchup. But the thing about Bivol is he's a very focused fighter, a cold-blooded technician. He's not going to get emotional in the fight. He's going to fight his fight. And if you can't beat him and get him out of that style of fighting, you're not going to win. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. But look for Canelo Alvarez to take on Dimitri Bivol May 6th. Look for Deontay Wilder to take on Andy Ruiz March 18th. And the PBC could do this. I don't know if it's going to be financially feasible. They could put David Benavidez versus Caleb Plant as the co-main event. That fight was going to be March 18th, and they thought they was going to lock down Wilder versus Ruiz on May 6th, as Canelo Alvarez will be unavailable due to the wrist surgery. The timetable after the wrist surgery, he wasn't going to be available for May, but again, he's come out here recently and said that the surgery went better than expected, and the timetable has been decreased, and he will not be out as long, and he will be able to, I think he already took the cast off. He said 7 days after surgery, he's going to be able to take the cast off. So he's going to be ready, or he's already took the cast off. After 7 days, they was anticipating it would be weeks before he was able to take the cast off. So he's ahead of schedule, and he will be available for May 6th. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. Follow me on Facebook, Gerard.Briscoe.3551. Like, share, and subscribe to JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend, and I holla.